I can hear what animals are thinking. At the zoo today, a black bear was thinking, I'll be out of here tonight. That woman smells delicious. I want to eat her. That bear was staring straight at me. Tonight, I'll be out of here. The moment I heard that, my heart skipped a beat. I've been able to hear animals' thoughts since I was a kid, but most of the time it's useless. Things like, I'm hungry, feel safe here, need food, and the like. So, this ability never came in handy until today, when I visited the wildlife park. In the black bear enclosure, one of the bears said something strange. It instantly put me on high alert. Out tonight? Was it planning an escape? But the bear's next thoughts sent chills down my spine. Huh? That woman's eyes look weird. Oh man, she smells so good. I want to eat her, that's it. I'm going tonight. It was a bear with an unusually large head. While the other bears were waving at tourists for meat, this one just kept staring at me. I tried to stay calm and, as soon as I left the enclosure, ran to the nearest zookeeper. What did you say? You think the bear might escape? The older man scoffed. If it does, we'll make headlines. Might even sell more tickets. I was furious. How can you say something so irresponsible? Relax. Just joking, Missy, he said, pointing to the tranquilizer guns locked up behind him. Don't worry. In the 20 years since this place opened, no animal's been on the loose for more than 10 minutes. Still, the bear's voice in my head, and the way it looked at me, it was all so unsettling. But the park is an hour from my home. Even if the bear really did escape, it'd cause a huge commotion and authorities would respond quickly, right? Besides, in a city full of people, it couldn't possibly find me. No need to panic, probably. That night, I was up late binge-watching a drama. Just as I was about to go to bed, the doorknob started rattling violently. Click, 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 click. Who's there? I shouted. I live alone, and the rough noise scared the hell out of me. As soon as I yelled, the doorknob stopped moving, but no one replied. I thought, I haven't wronged anyone. No burglar would be this obvious. Probably some drunk guy who got the wrong door. I crept toward the door, but then someone spoke on the other side. The voice sounded disturbingly familiar. Finally found her. She's in there. Smells so good. So good. Delicious meat. My scalp prickled. It was the black bear. It actually got out, and it's right outside my door. The handle started rattling again. Click, 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 click. I grabbed my phone, braced the door with my body, and called the police. The apartment's over 20 years old, and with the bear's strength pounding and pulling, I could feel the lock loosening. The door frame began to creak. As soon as the call connected, I quickly gave the dispatcher my address and explained the situation. Right after I finished, everything outside went still again. When did she realize? She's not normal. No wonder she smells so good. So delicious. I want to eat her. Cold sweat soaked through my shirt. The bear could understand human speech. I just told the cops there was a black bear outside and it heard me. Then, a voice called out in the hallway, "Who's banging on the door this late?" It was Uncle Jack from 401 across the hall. Right after that, a beast's roar rang out, then a loud crash, and Uncle Jack's shout. I pressed my eye to the peephole. Sure enough, 401's door was wide open, and I could hear a commotion inside. But from here, I could only see part of the foyer and living room. Judging by the noise, Uncle Jack didn't manage to shut the door in time the bear had forced its way into his apartment. What should I do? A few days ago, Aunt Anna and her daughter Emily left for summer camp. That means only Uncle Jack and his 6-year-old son Larry are home. What do I do? That black bear was nearly 2 meters tall, twice the size of Uncle Jack. Could he possibly handle it? The bear was after me. If it hurt my neighbors because of me, I'd never forgive myself. After a moment's hesitation, I cracked my door open. "Hey, bear, I'm right here." I banged on the door loudly, trying to lure it back. As soon as it showed up, I'd slam the door shut, there'd be time. From inside 401 came another round of crashes. Then suddenly, silence. "Uncle Jack, are you okay?" I called out toward his door. No answer. I was panicking, completely at a loss. After a brief pause, I carefully stepped out and peeked toward 401. Just then, someone stepped into view at the corner of the hallway. It was Uncle Jack. "Uncle Jack, you're okay." I was overjoyed. "What about the bear?" Uncle Jack, drenched in sweat, was panting hard. "Uncle Jack, the bear, it ran into your place, didn't it?" I tiptoed to peer inside. But Uncle Jack stepped to the side, blocking my view. "What bear? There's no bear," he said, looking completely puzzled. "But didn't you—" I started. "We were chasing a rat, that's all. It's late, get some sleep." He cut me off, glancing at me with clear irritation before heading back in and shutting the door. I stood there in front of 401, dumbfounded. Chasing a rat? Wasn't all that noise the bear attacking them? I glanced toward the stairwell, then put my ear to 401's door. Nothing. No beastly sounds. How strange. Just then, my phone buzzed. The police had arrived. 2 officers came up with riot shields and forks. They explained that since it was their first time getting a report like this, and I was the only one reporting it, they needed to verify before calling in animal control or the fire department. I led them upstairs and explained everything well. Everything except the part where I could hear the bear's thoughts. No way was I getting labeled delusional or locked up in some lab. The officers listened, half skeptical, and went to knock on 401's door. They knocked for a full 10 minutes before Uncle Jack finally opened the door, clearly annoyed. "What is it? I just fell asleep." He gave us a sour look. "Sir, your neighbor, Miss Kristin from 402, reported that a black bear entered your home. Can you confirm that?" Uncle Jack let out a laugh. "A black bear? In my apartment? That's news to me." Then he turned to me. "Lady, you been watching too many movies? That's the wildest thing I've ever heard." One officer glanced back at me, then asked, "Mind if we take a look inside?" Uncle Jack sighed. "My son's asleep. Keep it down." The officers stepped in, and I caught a whiff of something fishy coming from 401. A few minutes later, they stepped out. "Sorry for the trouble," they said. Uncle Jack shut the door with a look of displeasure. I was totally confused. But I clearly heard. I started to explain. "Miss Kristin," one officer interrupted. "We've already checked with every zoo in the city. None of them reported any bears missing." I frowned. Another officer asked, "Did you actually see the bear yourself?" I hesitated, unsure what to say. No, I hadn't literally seen it. The 2 officers exchanged a glance, then gave a resigned smile. "Miss Kristin, please be more careful next time. Don't report fantasies as facts." With that, they left. I closed the door, mind spinning. Uncle Jack said there was no bear. The police found no bear. The zoo denied any escape. Then what the hell was outside my door earlier? And what about the voice I heard? Someone's lying, Uncle Jack, or the zoo. The zoo might lie to avoid accountability, but why would Uncle Jack cover it up? A bear in a residential area is seriously dangerous. Surely he knows that. Just then, I heard the faint click of a door. Our floor only has 2 apartments. Open the door and it's the stairwell. Someone from 401 had just left. I rushed to the peephole. 401's door was closed, and I couldn't see anyone, but I could hear faint footsteps echoing down the stairwell. Was it Uncle Jack? Where was he going? I hurried to the balcony and looked down. Sure enough, a man in a dark brown trench coat and hat walked past below. Judging by the build, it was definitely Uncle Jack. He had a backpack and was carrying something long, I couldn't tell what. What was he up to? Dressed so suspiciously in the middle of the night. Then it hit me 401 and my unit, 402, faced opposite directions. The balcony in 401 faces south. Right outside are tall trees, by the roadside, 3 to 4 stories high. Could the bear have jumped from that balcony onto the tree and escaped? That would explain why the police couldn't find it. But how did Uncle Jack get rid of it? So now Uncle Jack is heading downstairs to find the bear? He lied to the police about not seeing it just so the bear wouldn't get sent back to the zoo? Is he planning to catch it himself? That's insane. I pulled out my phone, thinking of calling the cops again. But would they even believe me this time? That bear's cunning. It hid while the police were here. I hesitated, then posted a message in the neighborhood group chat. I think there's a black bear in the complex. Everyone, be careful. I was hoping someone else had seen it and would call the cops too, but it was already so late. Only one person replied with a shocked emoji. I checked their profile. Disappointed they lived in Building 7, way across from our Building 2. I regretted not leaving with the police earlier. Even just spending the night at the station would have been safer than staying here. They'd all said there was no bear, and it messed with my head. I didn't think it through. I considered getting a hotel for the night, but could I even get out of the complex safely? The bear could come back at any moment. No way I was staying home tonight. After thinking it over, I decided to call the fire department. I lied and said there might be a snake in my apartment. I asked them to send someone to catch it. I figured I'd leave with them when they arrived. But right after I hung up, I heard a faint noise coming from somewhere. Scrape! 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 What was that sound? It seemed to be coming from downstairs. I slid open the balcony door, the sound got clearer. Could it be? No time to think. I slammed the balcony door shut. But it wasn't reinforced glass. A grown man could smash through it, let alone a bear. I dashed to the front door to run. That's when I remembered what the bear had said. Her meat smells delicious. It was tracking me by scent. Would I really be able to outrun it? The door lock was already coming loose, probably wouldn't last another minute. Then, I did something completely different. I opened the front door, ran back inside, grabbed a can of bug spray, and doused the living room. The scraping was getting louder. I grabbed the lighter we used for the mosquito coil and shoved it into my pocket. I rushed into the bedroom and locked the door behind me. I sprayed more bug spray everywhere, then grabbed my perfume and sprayed it all over the bedroom and myself. Finally, I hid in the wardrobe. If the bear was following my scent, I had to mask it. Then came the sound of glass shattering. It was the balcony the bear had broken in, so that scraping noise really had been it climbing the building. I tried to text the police, but I had no signal inside the closet. Emergency calls still worked, but I didn't dare make a sound. I could only wait for the firefighters. I strained my ears, hoping the open front door would mislead the bear, make it think I'd run downstairs. Suddenly, bang! A loud crash. My whole body tensed. The bear was at my bedroom door. It started pounding the lock. Taking advantage of the noise, I quickly dialed the police and reported the bear in my home. I told them to alert the firefighters coming for the snake. Another crash. The bedroom door burst open. I hung up immediately. A massive figure appeared through the crack of the closet doors. The bear, standing upright, stepped into the bedroom. I heard its thoughts again. This place reeks. The door's open, but she's not outside. Her scent's not there. She didn't leave, she's hiding. She's clever. I'm gonna eat her down to the bone. But first, I have to watch out for the guy with the shotgun. The bear sniffed around the room. My mind reeled. Who was the guy with the shotgun? The bear moved to the bed, lifted the covers with a paw, then lowered its head to check underneath. Nothing. Then it turned and came to the closet, sniffing along the cracks. I covered my nose and mouth, barely breathing. I'd sprayed tons of bug spray in front of the closet earlier. Finally, the bear moved away. I didn't relax, just kept holding my breath, listening to its footsteps. Then wham! The left panel of the wardrobe shook violently. The sound was deafening. The whole wardrobe crashed sideways. The doors burst open. I was thrown out! The bear jumped on top of the wardrobe. Its massive, terrifying face loomed above me. I could see the greedy gleam in its dark brown eyes. Its barbed tongue licked my shoulder. A jolt of pain shot through me. My right shoulder went numb instantly. The bear opened its jaws, aiming for the back of my neck. Gritting my teeth, I turned and raised the bug spray. I aimed it at the bear's face and lit the nozzle with the lighter. Instantly, the spray turned into a mini flamethrower. Startled, the bear recoiled. I glanced toward the door, blocked by the bear. I had no choice. I scrambled under the bed. The bear lunged after me, shoving its head under the bed to bite. I crawled back as fast as I could. It reached in with its claws. I felt a sharp sting on my right calf. 4 bloody gashes opened up. I backed up to the very end of the bed frame. The bear couldn't reach me anymore. It struggled for a bit, then gave up and pulled back. I watched both sides of the bed carefully, ready for the next attack. Then the whole bed lifted into the air. I was exposed again. The bear lunged. I crawled out the foot of the bed, grabbed a fallen blanket, and threw it over the bear with all my strength. The blanket covered its face, confusing it. The bed landed on top of it, too. Roaring, it thrashed and clawed at the blanket. I slipped past it and dashed out of the bedroom. Just as I reached the living room, someone burst into my apartment. It was Uncle Jack, still in his trench coat. He was holding a shotgun. "Where's the bear?" Before I could answer, the bear charged out of the bedroom. "Run!" I shouted at Uncle Jack and bolted for the door, but he stood calmly, raised the gun, and aimed it at the bear. I looked back. The bear froze. It actually backed away, clearly afraid. Uncle Jack reached into his backpack and pulled out a fish, tossing it toward the bear. Then he turned to me. "No need to run. This thing's enough to scare it off." Then he growled at the bear. "If I had ammo, I'd blow your head off." I didn't have time to stop him from blurting that out. Sure enough, the bear paused its retreat. It stood up straight, face darkening, and glared at Uncle Jack. "It understands you," I whispered from behind him. The bear roared and charged again. Uncle Jack and I bolted out the door and slammed it shut. The bear rammed into it, nearly knocking me off my feet. We both pushed against the door. Jack shouted toward 401. "Larry, open the door!" The bear slammed wildly. The already damaged lock gave way. The whole thing fell off. A hole opened up in the door. The bear's paw punched through and grabbed Jack's waist. He screamed in pain, blood gushing out. His strength failed. The bear pushed the door open 1/2 meter. Luckily, its paw got stuck in the hole, reducing the pressure. Uncle Jack collapsed. A few fish and a boning knife fell from his backpack. I grabbed the knife and stabbed the bear's paw with all my might. The bear let out an earth-shaking roar. Just then, Larry opened the door. Jack and I scrambled into 401. "It's here." 2 firefighters rushed up the stairs. The moment the bear yanked its paw from the door, they leapt forward and shut it tight again. "Lock the door. We've got this," one shouted to me. I saw blood still gushing from Jack's waist. I followed orders and slammed the door shut. I grabbed the first aid kit and bandaged Jack's wound. I demanded to know why he lied to the police. He avoided my gaze, muttering something irrelevant. All I had was rat poison. I tried luring it with 2 fish soaked in the stuff, didn't even slow it down. Who knew it could understand people? Damn thing's practically a demon. You really thought you could catch it yourself? I nearly died because of you, I snapped. Jack lowered his head, silent. Larry tugged my sleeve and said, Kristin, can you forgive Dad? He said if he caught the bear, he could. Jack clapped a hand over Larry's mouth. He didn't need to finish. I already knew. Bear gall, bear paws, they're worth a fortune. Jack was just being greedy. I glared at him and tossed aside the half-used gauze. I stood up and went to the door, straining to hear what was going on outside. It's heading down from the 4th floor. Stay alert. One of the firefighters called over the radio. Reinforcements had arrived. They were hunting the bear. I breathed a little easier. Once I confirmed the hallway was clear, I left Jack's apartment and returned to 402. The commotion downstairs was loud. Lights were turning on as residents woke up and gathered to see what was happening. I found my phone in the bedroom, packed up, and headed downstairs to catch a cab to the hospital. By the time they treated the wounds on my shoulder and right calf, it was already 4 a.m. As I left the hospital, I checked the messages in our building group chat. The black bear had been captured. I found an hourly rate hotel nearby and collapsed into bed, falling asleep instantly. The next day, the black bear break-in made the trending news. It had come from Dayu Zoo, the very one I visited yesterday. When the zoo staff received a call from the police last night, they denied any bear had escaped to avoid responsibility. Later, tracing the police station's number, one of them came our way with a tranquilizer gun. It wasn't until he saw the police cars and fire trucks on the road that he realized what had happened and followed them to our complex to help take the bear down. Reportedly, during the capture, 2 police dogs were injured, one fatally. My landlord bombarded me with a dozen long voice messages demanding compensation for the damaged furniture. Thankfully, Dayu Zoo reached out to save face, offering to cover all losses. The police called and asked me to come in and make a statement. I took the day off work and headed to the station. After I finished, a female officer escorted me out. As we passed through the empty corridor, I suddenly heard a voice. She smells so good. I'm going to eat her. A cold chill crept up the back of my neck like a ghostly hand. That voice, it sounded exactly like the black bear's inner voice. I froze, turned my head, and scanned for the source. My ability to hear animal thoughts has a limited range, which meant it had to be nearby. The officer gave me a puzzled look and asked what I was looking for. I asked her back, "Where is that black bear being held now?" She said the bear had ingested rat poison and was receiving treatment at a specialized facility. I asked, "Are you sure it hasn't escaped?" She reassured me, "Don't worry. Since it injured a person, we're taking it seriously. There are armed police guarding it." Seeing how jumpy I looked, she assumed I was still dealing with PTSD and offered a few more comforting words. It really couldn't be the bear, it couldn't be at the station. Maybe it was just a hallucination from lack of sleep. I gave the officer an apologetic smile and walked out. That's when I saw Aunt Anna walking toward me. She was here to post bail for Uncle Jack. Apparently, he was being held for not reporting the bear attack and for illegal possession of a shotgun. The only good news was that no ammunition had been found in his home, and since Emily had cancer, they could try to get him a suspended sentence. I sighed. Uncle Jack has always seemed like a decent guy. How could he be so reckless this time? Aunt Anna lowered her head and stayed silent. I was about to leave when she grabbed my hand, eyes red with tears. Choking up, she said, "He did it to save our daughter." Turns out, she hadn't taken Emily to summer camp. She had taken her to the hospital for chemotherapy. Emily was diagnosed with a brain tumor 6 months ago. Uncle Jack and Aunt Anna had visited every top cancer hospital across the country. Every doctor said Emily wouldn't survive past 2 years. They'd prayed at every temple they could find. Desperate, they heard a folk remedy claiming bear gall and bear heart could cure brain tumors. Uncle Jack owns a mold factory. He secretly designed and crafted a shotgun in-house. His original plan was to get bullets and head into the mountains back home to hunt a bear. But then, by pure coincidence, the zoo's bear wandered into our complex. When it broke into 401, Uncle Jack panicked, picked up his unloaded shotgun, and pointed it at the bear. To his shock, the bear jumped off the balcony in fear. Even he hadn't expected that. And after the police said the zoo denied any escaped bear, he became convinced it was fate that heaven had sent this bear to him as a last chance to save his daughter. Even though he wasn't fully prepared, he couldn't let the opportunity slip away. He pulled a bag of fish from the freezer, thawed them, laced them with rat poison, and left with the shotgun and a knife to catch the bear. Unfortunately, he failed and got arrested instead. While his apartment was being repaired, I moved into a hotel. Maybe because of the crowd or stress, I came down with a high fever and was bedridden for 3 days. Lying in bed, I kept having nightmares reliving that moment, hiding in the wardrobe in 402, the bear finding me, tearing me apart. Every time I woke up drenched in sweat, the same question haunted me even more. Why did the bear want to eat me? Specifically. The only thing that sets me apart is my ability to hear animals' thoughts. Could that be related to the bear's obsession with eating me? For years, I'd come to terms with my odd but mostly useless gift. Like some people are born colorblind. Others have perfect pitch. I never saw myself as different. But that bear reignited my curiosity. Why me? I remembered a sci-fi story where scientists were willing to die just to ask aliens the questions that had plagued humanity. I wasn't that obsessed, but the curiosity was growing fast. After I recovered, I called the female officer who took my statement and asked about the bear's condition. Her answer stunned me. There was an accident during treatment. It's dead. I paused. Because of the rat poison. I don't know the exact cause. All right, thanks. After hanging up, a wave of disappointment swept over me. I thought that would be the end. I'd move on with life, with no closure. But 2 days later, on my way home from work, I realized someone was following me. I'd been working late to catch up after taking time off, and walked home well past dark. The streets were mostly empty. I sensed someone behind me and quickened my pace. Just as I neared the hotel entrance, a man suddenly lunged from the shadows, grabbed me from behind, and pressed a damp cloth over my nose. I panicked. Ether? Was I being kidnapped? Like in the movies? I held my breath and struggled with all my strength. I jammed my taser flashlight, the one I'd been gripping tightly, into the attacker. A crackle of electricity. He yelped and let go, collapsing to the ground. I scrambled away, shouting for help. The hotel security guard ran over and I saw the man's face. My jaw dropped. It was the zookeeper I'd seen at the park. He got up, disheveled, and screamed at me. "You're a virus carrier! Come with me, I need to monitor your mutation! I don't have time!" I had no idea what he was talking about. He tried to approach me, but the guards stepped between us. They struggled. Suddenly, 4 police officers rushed in and tackled the zookeeper. He tried to run but was taken down and handcuffed in seconds. Even as they led him away, he kept shouting, "Let me go! You don't understand what you're doing. I have to stop this before it evolves again. Miss Kristin, kill yourself. It's the only way." The guard chuckled. Where'd this nutjob come from? But I stood there, stunned. The mystery clouding my mind was only growing deeper. The zookeeper, the bear obsessed with me. Virus carrier, what was really going on? The next day, I called the zoo. I found out the man's name was Kyle. As for Kyle's case, the zoo refused to comment. I turned to the internet to search for clues. I scoured every page I could find and finally stumbled upon a photo, someone who looked just like Kyle. But the caption read, PhD in molecular biology. The photo was from 7 years ago. The man in it looked slightly younger than the zookeeper, but it had to be the same person. From what I could dig up, Dr. Kyle had worked at a university's biological research institute up until 5 years ago. Since then, there'd been no mention of Dr. Kyle online. Thinking back to his crazed ramblings before being arrested, I grew uneasy. Maybe he wasn't just ranting. I had to talk to him. After jumping through several hoops, I finally got visitation rights. When Kyle saw me, his face lit up. You came. I'm the only one who can help you. I sat across from him, took a deep breath, and asked my first question. Am I going to die? Kyle hesitated. If you do what I say, maybe not. He explained why he'd been arrested not just for letting the bear escape and hurt someone, but also for being linked to several animal deaths at the zoo. It turned out that back when Kyle worked at the academy, he'd been researching type C virus. But the project never got much support, and with too few samples worldwide, progress was slow. He refused to give up or switch topics, and eventually, the academy fired him 3 years ago. Still obsessed, Kyle went to the zoo one day and saw a job posting for a zookeeper. On impulse, he applied without disclosing his PhD. He got the job and spent the next few years secretly conducting experiments, using animals from the zoo as test subjects. I only picked the weak and sick ones, a few deer, rhinos, goats, that kind of thing. Besides, thanks to my research, I actually cured a few that were considered untreatable. That should count for something, right? Kyle gave a bitter smile. He'd discovered that most mammals infected with the type C virus became noticeably smarter. The black bear that escaped was one of Kyle's test subjects. After Kyle implanted the type C virus in it, the bear became more intolerant of captivity than any other, evading all caretakers and zookeepers as it forged its own escape route. When Kyle learned I was the one attacked, he was completely baffled. He instantly remembered how I had approached him in concern, warning that the bear was going to escape. In his research, Kyle had found that animals infected with the type C virus sometimes saw others of their kind also infected as prey. He couldn't believe it. He had just discovered the world's first known human infected with the virus. 10 years ago, a scientist had been attacked by an infected animal, but the virus didn't survive in his body. But just then, the zoo director discovered Kyle's connection to a series of animal deaths in the park and immediately alerted the authorities. Kyle, full of curiosity, asked me, "How did you know it was going to escape?" I hesitated and said, "I can hear animals' thoughts." Kyle's eyes widened in disbelief. He slapped the table in excitement. "Incredible. Absolutely incredible. I have to get out of here. I need to show those stubborn fools at the academy I was right. Humanity cannot ignore the type C virus." Just then, a guard came over and warned him to keep quiet. Kyle calmed down and turned to me with a cold stare. "Kristin, listen to me. The type C virus isn't a singular virus. They have identities. They have different personalities. Some are hypersensitive to neuroelectric signals like you, who can receive brainwaves from lower creatures. Others evolve by attacking similar hosts and absorbing their genetic codes like that black bear. That's why it wanted to eat you. The virus inside it was manipulating it, luring it toward your scent to achieve its own goal. The virus also exhibits a strange, host-abandoning behavior during transmission. After infecting a new host, it can trigger a command. with no medium required, instructing the remnant copy in the former host to self-extract. It's like yanking random segments from a running program. The former host's systems crash entirely, leading to rapid death. Between a human and a bear, the virus will always choose the more advanced host, human. That's why the black bear was killed by the remnant virus inside it. And now, between the two new infected, it'll choose one of you. From what I know, the other person injured by the bear, besides you, was your neighbor across the hall. I returned to the hotel carrying a black case. Inside were 2 vials of type C virus antibody that I took from Kyle's secret lab. Kyle had told me the virus had already entered both me and Uncle Jack. If Uncle Jack suddenly dropped dead, it meant the virus chose me. If it chose him, the new virus in me would eliminate me. The good news? I was already a carrier. If the new virus didn't successfully take hold, I'd be fine. The fever I had a few days ago was likely the 2 strains battling it out inside me. Regardless of which one wins, according to the virus's evolutionary rule, I'd retain my ability to hear animals' thoughts. The best option was to inject both me and Uncle Jack with the antibody to destroy the virus. When I heard Kyle say this, I let out a sigh of relief. So all I need is a shot? I can handle that. Did you really have to tell me to kill myself the first time we met? Kyle scratched his head awkwardly. I added, I'll bring Uncle Jack here. You talk him into it. There's no time. If he refuses, force him if you have to, Kyle warned. Back at the hotel, I was a nervous wreck. Would Uncle Jack believe me if I told him everything Kyle said? If I caught him off guard and injected him with the antibody, it might work, but he'd probably call the police and have me arrested. Then again, could I even trust Kyle, a disgraced scientist? He'd let a bear loose for the sake of his experiments, leading to this mess. Not exactly reliable. After much internal debate, I made up my mind. The world's just a rickety stage play. We do what instinct tells us. I grabbed a fruit basket and went to Uncle Jack's place, saying I was there to visit Emily. It was already 10 p.m. Definitely not ideal. I knocked for ages with no response. Strange. Were they not home? Just as I was about to leave, a voice came from inside. Coming! The door opened a crack, revealing Uncle Jack's face. I explained why I was there. He let me in. I noticed he was alone. I asked where Aunt Anna, Emily, and Larry were. Anna's at the hospital with Emily. Larry's asleep, he said. Seemed like good timing. My palms started to sweat. Time to lie. I wouldn't bother you this late unless it was important. The thing is, I told him I had an aunt working at the facility treating the bear, and she found out the bear had parasites. While it might not be transmissible to humans, she got me a vaccine, just in case. I told him, since he and Aunt Anna had always been kind to me, I'd asked for an extra dose for him. Jeez, those zoo people are so irresponsible, Uncle Jack said, eyes flicking back and forth. Did you bring the vaccine? Yeah. I nodded, unzipping my bag. Just then, something in the corner of my eye caught my attention, a cabinet door slightly ajar behind Uncle Jack. I took another glance. My brain buzzed. A child's hand. Was it Emily? Larry? Why were they hiding in the cabinet? Emily was too old to be playing this kind of prank. It had to be Larry. But Uncle Jack had said Larry was asleep. Cold sweat broke across my forehead. Damn it. I should have been suspicious when it took Uncle Jack so long to answer the door. Did you find it? He suddenly asked. I pulled out the syringe with the antibody and placed it on the coffee table. My aunt says it's best to inject it as soon as possible. I stood up, pretending to leave. I won't keep you then. I've got to get back to the hotel. It's hard to get a cab this late. Hold on. Uncle Jack stood up too, clearly trying to stop me. He glanced at me, swallowed hard. Since you're already here, have some fruit before you go. I tried to decline, but he seemed annoyed. All right, fine. I'll have a piece of cantaloupe. I pointed to the one in the basket. Great. I'll cut it. He picked up the cantaloupe and headed into the kitchen. I sat back down, watching his back while he sliced. My heart pounded, planning what to do next. 1. Pull out the taser in my pocket, knock him out while he's distracted, and inject him. That was my be polite first, strike later plan. 2. Bolt immediately. But he was closer to the door, I might not make it in time. 3. Wait and see. Don't act rashly, and try to leave safely. While I hesitated, I quietly sent a text to the police. Right after I hit send, I realized the sound of slicing had stopped. I looked up. Uncle Jack was no longer in the kitchen. I stood, glanced around the room. He was nowhere in sight. Impossible I'd been watching his back as I texted. My eyes had left the kitchen for no more than 3 seconds. The house was dead silent. I slowly pulled out my taser. Suddenly, a drop of liquid hit the back of my neck. Hairless monkeys really are more agile than bears. Uncle Jack's voice came from above. I turned to find him crouched bizarrely on top of the air conditioner, eyes wide, drooling. I raised my taser. He lunged at me. He tackled me to the ground and lunged at my throat. I used one hand to hold off his jaw and jammed the taser into his neck with the other. He jerked and snarled from the shock. I kicked him away, crawled out from under him. As I got to my feet, he grabbed a badminton racket from under the coffee table and swung it at me. A searing pain shot through my arm as the racket cracked against it. The taser flew from my hand. I didn't have time to see where it landed. I scrambled into the kitchen, fumbling on the counter until I found a fruit knife. I turned and pointed it at him. He swung the racket, trying to knock it away. Step by step, I was backed into a corner. Trapped, I realized the gas stove was behind me. I glanced at the spice rack, grabbed a bottle of cooking wine, and smashed it at his feet. It splattered everywhere, soaking his pant legs. He sniffed in surprise. I lit the stove, grabbed a dry cloth, and threw it on the flame. The wine caught fire instantly. The wooden cabinets and dining table went up in flames. So did Uncle Jack's pants. He screamed, trying to extinguish himself. I bolted to the foyer and threw open the door. Right beside it was the circuit breaker. A thought struck me. I yanked it down. The lights inside went out. When the police arrived, 401 was ablaze. The fire had likely shorted the power, leaving the room in darkness. From the balcony, cries for help echoed. The lead officer rushed in. Through the smoke, he saw me pinned under Uncle Jack, who had a knife raised over my chest. I braced his body with my knee, both hands clutching his wrist. The officer stormed through the smoke, gun drawn, shouting, "Stop!" Uncle Jack's other arm hung limp. Knife kept coming down. The officer, unable to see clearly, made a split-second decision and fired. Uncle Jack collapsed instantly. He was dead. I was helped out of the burning apartment by the officers. 30 minutes later, the fire was extinguished. I sat dazed on the curb outside. Then the police carried out 4 bodies from 401 Uncle Jack, and the other 3, Larry, Emily, and Aunt Anna. Unlike Uncle Jack, they had all been poisoned. The police found a pot of fish soup in the kitchen laced with a large amount of rat poison. I saw the same female officer from before. This time I learned her name was Cindy. While the other officers were collecting evidence, Cindy came over to offer a few words of comfort. Then she suddenly changed the subject. I heard you came to visit Emily, only to find a corpse in the cabinet, and that's why Uncle Jack tried to silence you. I nodded. Cindy rubbed her chin. But there's something else I find more curious than you visiting a kid that late at night, she continued. When we arrived, the door to 401 was wide open. Why would Uncle Jack leave it open and then attack you on the balcony? Seeing I didn't answer, she added, Did you open the door while trying to escape, and he dragged you back in? But then, why try to murder you on the balcony, where it's easy to call for help? And another thing I noticed, you had no bleeding injuries, while the assailant had multiple stab wounds, including one in the abdomen with massive blood loss. In that condition, how could he have wrestled the knife from you and pinned you down? And how, with such serious injuries, did he manage to drag you from the door all the way to the balcony? My expression darkened. Why don't you go ask the murderer? Is it really appropriate to interrogate a victim like this? Cindy was quiet for a moment, then patted my hand. You're right. I'm sorry. She got up and walked away. Just then, 3 officers passed by with police dogs, heading upstairs to continue the investigation. But the last dog stopped right in front of me. It stared at me intensely, its purple tongue drooling. Her meat smells delicious. I froze for a second, then let out a laugh. So it was you at the station last time. The officer holding the leash thought I was talking to him and looked confused. Sorry, miss. What did you say? I didn't catch that. I looked up and smiled. Nothing. Then I shifted my gaze and shot the dog a sharp glare. The police dog suddenly began to tremble uncontrollably, then collapsed, limbs limp, foaming at the mouth.